that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
No! No! I refuse! I'm sick of it!
Zoom in here and it says, with the compliments of Her Royal Highness.
They won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore, but I'm gonna put it all over my stationery and on the gifts that I give to my friends.
Truly, I want to like something about her. I'm searching for something to like about her, and it's so hard.
It was meant to be Meghan Markle's big leap into relatability, a wholesome lifestyle series blending cooking, family moments, and a message of, look, I'm just like you.
She married for money. It's very clear she bagged the elephant. She was thrilled she became a, quote, princess.
But you're the same.
You're the same.
Like, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, guys, you don't gotta do this. Please, I'm begging you to stop.
This project was part of her and Harry's lucrative Netflix deal, reportedly worth a staggering $20 million. However, that cozy culinary dream appears to be fading away.
I don't like her.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
Everybody who works for her quits. Everybody says she's a bully. She's very nasty.
Critics have long labeled Meghan as difficult to work with many former employees claiming she has a bullying demeanor. Sources indicate that her long-rumored Netflix cooking show has been quietly shelved, paused indefinitely, or, depending on whom you ask, canceled altogether.
Not only is she incredibly controlling, but she's a bitch about it to everybody who works for her. When things inevitably start spiraling downward, she blames everyone but herself.
There has been no official announcement or heartfelt farewell. Instead, it seems to be a slow retreat as executives reportedly distance themselves from what they once envisioned as a brand-defining success.
She's trying to sell herself as this wholesome mother who's baking cookies and making tea for the rest of the family.
Insiders suggest that Netflix lost confidence in the series after early footage failed to impress, describing it as painfully staged, visually stunning, but emotionally empty, and, worst of all, completely unrelatable. The issue wasn't just the content, it was the star.
You could do this with one small row for your kids for breakfast, genuinely, and it makes the morning a lot more fun.
Meghan attempted to portray herself as a wholesome mother baking cookies and brewing tea, but her version of home cooking reportedly included custom aprons, floral garnishes, multiple camera setups, and a team of stylists just out of frame.
40 minutes into the podcast, this little picture, quite a grainy picture, flashed up, which shows a basket of, homemade preserves with a card on it, HRH, Duchess of Sussex, Meghan.
I find it a little bit cringe to give a gift to a close friend and sign it Her Royal Highness.
Why even in private? She's using that full title, Her Royal Highness.
I would never refer to myself as Her Royal Highness.
One source remarked that it resembled a perfume ad featuring cupcakes rather than a genuine cooking show, a perception that likely clashed with audience expectations for authenticity. For a platform still recovering from the backlash of the Harry and Meghan docuseries and a costly breakup with Spotify, it's easy to see why executives might be hesitant.
She wants us to put together a fruit crudité board for our children in the morning. Now, look, Maureen.
I can't.
Look at this.
I can't.
The show was pitched as real, grounded, and emotional, but as one anonymous Netflix consultant told British tabloids, she cried under flattering lighting, baked with perfectly styled hair, and even signed off camera notes with her royal title.
I knew her a bit before she met Harry. She was nothing like that. She didn't speak like that. Her mannerisms weren't like that. This is all fake.
Such details reportedly made the show a tough sell for audiences craving something more down to earth. For Netflix, the optics are grim. This was supposed to be the project that rehabilitated Meghan's image after accusations of inauthenticity, the Spotify exit, and her awkward appearance at the Times summit.
By the way, I love your Luke.
Sorry, what's that?
Your Luke. You look amazing. Your Luke.
My Luke, my
Luke. Look. She likes my Luke.
It was her chance to show a more unplugged version of herself. But with the show now reportedly shelved and murmurs of disappointment echoing through the industry, the bigger question looms. Is the Netflix deal itself unraveling? During a recent podcast, a grainy image flashed on screen showing a basket of homemade preserves with a card reading, Her Royal Highness Duchess of Sussex.
I just think she's crying for sympathy, playing the victim when there's nothing to be a victim about, and there's also no sympathy to be granted for this lifestyle that she's chosen to live.
Many found it cringeworthy that she would sign a gift to a close friend with her royal title. If the cooking show, a low-risk, brand-friendly concept, couldn't survive production, what does that say about the future of her media empire? From the outset, the cooking show felt overly curated.
Now, more troubles for poor Meghan. She's been threatened with a $10 million lawsuit after a woman suffered catastrophic burns, allegedly from the Duchess's do-it-yourself bath salt recipe.
Marketed as a heartwarming glimpse into Meghan Markle's authentic home life. It promised fresh ingredients, family moments, and personal storytelling. But anyone paying attention could tell it wasn't Julia Child or even Gwyneth Paltrow. It was pure performance, wrapped in beige linens and sprinkled with Pinterest-level aesthetics.
Here is the intro of the episode. Look at this.
Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, in her first ever podcast interview. It's happening!
Now that it's allegedly been cut, many are left wondering if the cooking show was ever meant to exist, or if it was just another layer of the Duchess's carefully crafted image. The concept was pitched as part of a broader Netflix content pipeline, something light and lifestyle-focused to balance the couple's darker documentary-heavy offerings.
Yeah, they're just it's just so great. This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on.
Meghan was supposed to step into the kitchen without makeup, with the kids running around and Harry popping in to taste test her famous banana bread. But what we actually got was a single overproduced teaser photo, a few staged mentions in interviews, and silence. No rollout, no trailer, no calendar date, and no evidence that anything real was being cooked.
Something's up here. See that little shoulder shrug when she said yes?
Yes, yes,
Did you hear how high her voice was when she said yes?
yes.
When we're stressed, our larynx closes up a little bit and our voice tone gets a little bit higher. That's why the pitch of the yes is so high.
Except perhaps a PR stunt. The few glimpses we did see were unconvincing. Meghan discussing dried flower petals on scrambled eggs, her morning routine of crafting artisanal fruit boards for toddlers, and allegedly fresh-faced chopping herbs with the intensity of someone who had never used a knife outside of a Vogue shoot. One viewer who previewed an early clip claimed it looked more like an Instagram ad for napkins than a cooking show.
And here's everything and every moment that I wanted to tell you how much I love you and like how proud I am of you. And of all things, it's making me emotional.
And she also is pretending like she's crying. There isn't a tear in sight. It's an actor's trick.
You'll make yourself cry. Oh, I can do that so well. Oh my God, it's crazy. You're like, Meghan, one tear, left eye, go. Give me 3 seconds.
The lighting was perfect, the counters spotless, and the food too styled to eat. It all screamed aspiration, not authenticity. Even the emotional tone felt forced. Early promotional materials described the show as rooted in community, nourishment, and storytelling, but those close to the production claimed Meghan was heavily focused on image control.
Do you think you'll be married forever?
Yes.
I have a letter.
He's also a fox. If you haven't noticed, my husband's very, very handsome. But his heart is even more beautiful.
Whoops, something's up here. See that little shoulder shrug when she said yes?
Yes, 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 yes,
Did you hear how high her voice was when she said yes?
yes.
When we're stressed, our larynx closes up a little bit and our voice tone gets a little bit higher. That's why the pitch of the yes is so high.
Yes.
Insisting on reshoots if her hair didn't fall just right or if the kids made too much noise in the background. She wanted to appear maternal, but not actually be maternal on camera. Every detail was staged, and that's the problem.
He's called Meghan Markle nasty and says he feels sorry for Prince Harry because his wife is a lot to deal with.
For someone desperate to convince the world she's relatable, Meghan Markle keeps producing content that feels like it was designed in a brand strategy meeting and run through multiple layers of lighting and legal approval. The cooking show could have been her most human moment, but instead, it has become the latest example of her aversion to real mess, real emotion, and real life.
Trump says he hates the way that Harry dealt with the late Queen, and judging by his friendliness towards King Charles, he won't appreciate the way Harry continues to run his mouth against the monarchy today.
Behind the scenes, Netflix executives are reportedly growing anxious. What was once a glittering $100 million partnership featuring the royal couple is now being scrutinized in boardrooms, with terms like under-delivering floating around. According to multiple industry sources, Meghan and Harry's multi-year deal with the streaming giant, of which her canceled cooking show was just one part, is beginning to look more like a liability than a long-term investment. Meghan, once the centerpiece of the brand, may be the one Netflix is most ready to cut loose. It all began with lofty ambitions. In the early days of the deal, the Sussexes promised documentaries, children's content, scripted series, and personal projects like the cooking show. Yet nearly 4 years later, the output has been sparse. Apart from the bombshell Harry and Meghan docuseries, which broke records but also the public's patience, the couple has failed to deliver consistent, sustainable content. In Meghan's case, her promised creative endeavors have either stalled, flopped, or vanished entirely. There's a growing belief that Meghan's projects generate buzz, but the wrong kind. Instead of positive anticipation, her content now arrives with a side of eye-rolling and think pieces about why everything she touches feels insincere. Adding to her troubles, Meghan has been threatened with a $10 million lawsuit after a woman suffered catastrophic burns, allegedly from the Duchess's DIY bath salt recipe. This couldn't come at a worse time, with Spotify officially terminating their deal last year and making no secret of their dissatisfaction. The Netflix partnership became the crown jewel of her media ambitions. And if that falls apart, the entire foundation of the Sussexes' Hollywood life starts to look less like strategy and more like fantasy. Meghan's podcast comeback was supposed to be a clean slate, a no-frills, deeply personal conversation meant to humanize her again after the royal drama, the Spotify flameout, and mounting public cynicism. This was her shot to prove she could still connect. Just her, a friend, no makeup, and a microphone. Instead of a raw reveal, listeners got one of the most transparently choreographed PR spectacles in recent memory. Insiders are whispering that the podcast, meant to build anticipation for future Netflix and media projects, may have done the exact opposite. Every word, every sigh, every strategically timed "are you okay?" is just another layer of performance, and people are done applauding. It's not just skeptics raising eyebrows, it's everyone. Meghan Markle's reputation for inauthenticity has officially reached a tipping point. While her PR team may still cling to words like relatable and raw, the internet has moved on to harsher vocabulary: performative, scripted, fake. Nowhere has that perception been more amplified than in the reaction to her now infamous Tears on Command moment. During her Suits press tour years ago, Meghan reportedly joked with a photographer that she could make herself cry on cue, specifically with her left eye. "Watch this," she allegedly said, producing a single tear while grinning proudly. This party trick has resurfaced in light of her dramatic podcast breakdown, leading viewers to question the authenticity of her emotional displays. Critics have pointed out that her emotional delivery often feels rehearsed, with one viral comment suggesting, "Those weren't tears, those were product placement." The contrast between how Meghan frames her vulnerability and how it actually lands is stark. She insists she's being honest, but viewers perceive spin. When she shares her heart, critics argue she's merely workshopping her next brand pitch. The emotional equivalent of a press release, her vulnerability feels pre-packaged and curated. Adding to the controversy, Meghan's trademark filings for various products have been mocked as overreaching, with critics calling it a cash grab disguised as empowerment. Even supporters admit the scope feels desperate, as if she threw every Etsy idea at a wall and trademarked it. What began as a glossy empire of mindfulness is rapidly earning a reputation as an overpriced, underperforming facade. As Meghan continues to navigate her post-royal life, the question remains: can she win back public trust? Will she pull off another headline-making transformation? Or is the cancellation of her cooking show just the first casualty in a larger unraveling? The world is watching, not with curiosity, but with skepticism. and the runway for her next act is shrinking.